Good evening. I am Amadin Ogbewe. Now, earlier today, I had a chat with former Zamfara State Governor and Senator Ahmed Sani, about his mission and ambition for Nigeria. Senator Sani is one of the aspirants of the All Progressive Congress, and he talked to me about his agenda for education, eradication of ignorance, and poverty. All right, Senator Sani, welcome to Talk Talk.
Yeah, welcome.
All right, sir. Let's start very simply. Why do you want to be president?
Well, you see, first of all, I was elected as governor 2 times. I served for 8 years in Zamfara State. And I was elected for the position of the senator. And I also served the country for 12 years. Period to that, I was working with the state government, Minister of Finance. I rose to permanent secretary after having been director of budget and economic planning. And I then worked with Central Bank of Nigeria and the National Director of Employment. In 2007, I offered myself to contest for presidency, but I had to step down for the current president, Mr. Muhammad Buhari. I believe that I have seen Nigeria, and I have Nigeria on my dream, that I think one can profile solution to the many challenging problems that Nigeria is facing today. Most importantly, in the area of security, poverty, and ignorance. These are 3 cardinal objectives that I think that if one can, work on them, Nigeria will be a better country.
All right, now, you've mentioned your 3-point agenda. I think everyone knows now what you stand for. So let's start with one that I think has caused the most controversy, which is battling ignorance. What are some of those things that you feel Nigerians are not aware about? What are those things that your government would bring into place that would change some of those ignorant aspects that you've identified?
First of all, we have to look at our education sector.
Oh.
The Constitution has guaranteed education, compulsory, free, and compulsory education up to secondary school level. The quality and the quantity and effectiveness, one has to look at that to make sure that every Nigerian child is given efficient and effective education up to secondary school level. We have to introduce student loan support so that if you finish your secondary school, poverty will not stop you from going ahead to university, polytechnic, or college education. In addition to that, the kind of education we're getting today is that you see people acquiring degree, they'll be running around after their youth service with certificates looking for a job. I think we have to change that trend. We have to introduce entrepreneurship development programs right in the schools so that people can graduate with an objective of establishing a business of themselves, to work for themselves and even employ others. For example, if somebody read agriculture, BSc agriculture, by the time he graduated, he should have in mind the intention to establish either poultry, livestock rearing, or any other area of crop production, so that he will go and get loan from Bank of Commerce Industry or Bank of Agriculture, development banks that will be established. Some of them are already there, but they only need to be strengthened. And in addition to that, even those people who have acquired knowledge, they are not illiterate, they are illiterates. But some of them, they are politically illiterates. We have to educate them in what is democracy, constitution, constitutionalism. You will hear somebody, a professor, will sit down in one zone of the country and say, power must come to my zone, because he's politically illiterate. He has education, Western education, but he's not qualitatively educated in a way that he should understand his society. So the kind of education we want to give people is for them to understand themselves and also understand their society. Because if you don't understand yourself, you will just be looking for how you will just get employed by others. But if you know yourself, you are having quality education, like I said, you are giving entrepreneurship development programs right in school, you will start your own business and even employ your next of kin, your brothers and sisters. Yes.
All right, so what about in terms of religious tolerance? We know that, do you believe that you are a unifier? Someone that, because you come from the north and a Muslim background, do you believe that you can appeal to Christians and that there can be that unity? Because we know that along the line, it seems to be worsening every day, and these differences keep getting starker. So, what are your plans as regards bringing everyone back together?
Well, just recently, the youth CAN, Christian Association of Nigeria, 19 Northern State at Abuja, the youth,
Yes.
and Women CAN, Women Christian Association of Nigeria, 19 Northern State at Abuja, were with me, and they endorsed my aspiration. Why? Because the chairperson of CAN in Zamfara State has reached out to them and told them how I handled my government in Zamfara for 8 years. You see, all you need to do is to make sure there is justice, equity, and fairness in governance. The Constitution of Nigeria is very, very clear. Section 38 said there must be freedom of religion. Every Nigerian is guaranteed freedom of religion. Freedom to worship alone or in community with others, in private or in public, even freedom to change your religion if you want. So there is no reason why. It's from the leadership, style of leadership. That is why I promised the women CAN and youth CAN that by the grace of God, if I'm elected, I'm going to establish, among the administrative structure I'm going to establish, one of which will be Ministry for Religious Affairs. We have a Minister, Christian Affairs, Minister, Muslim Affairs, so that we can upgrade the kind of interaction we have today. We have NARECAM, that is the Muslim Christian committee that the federal government is using. We want to upgrade it to a ministry level so that there will be adequate interaction between Muslim and Christian. God can never make a mistake. He created Muslim, Jews, Christian, Hindus, Chinese, even who do not believe in religion. I always give this example. I have one North Korean, a medical doctor, who was with me when I was governor. I asked him, I was driving with him. I said, which religion do you follow? He said, what is religion? I said, do you believe in any God? He said, what is God? I said, you don't know anything God. He said, well, I see it in books and other things, but he doesn't believe in any God, anything God. I said, who created you? He said, his father and mother. Who created them? He said, he's their father and mother. Who created those? He said, look, sir, if you want to know the history of evolution, human evolution, go to science. Air, water, these things come together to create life, and this life transform into monkeys, and monkeys transform into monkeys. I said, no, me, I'm not from monkey. You understand? I said, you can be from monkey. So you see, God can never make mistake, and God knows him. He made him. Me, as a Muslim, I believe that every human being is created by God. Somebody Christian will say God created everybody, everything. And in churches, they say God has power over all things. In mosque, we say God has power over all things. The Jews say God has power over all things. Then if we truly believe that he has power over all things, why must we not live together in peace and harmony? So it is, once you have justice, equity, and fairness in administration, you find that there will be no crisis between ethnic groups. There is no agitation. Everybody will think that a citizen of Nigeria will talk about citizenship. Like America, like UK. In UK today, you have Pakistanis in their parliament. They just acquire citizenship, but they are considered as citizens of UK. They don't see them as Pakistanis. So Nigerians must establish this concept of citizenship in them, so that an Igbo man who is in Zamfara will see himself as citizen of Nigeria and part of that society. A Hausa man, Fulani man who is in Nubu or Lagos or Ibadan, or if you go to South, they will all go there as citizens of Nigeria. We have to imbibe this concept of citizenship so that people can be politically educated, and they will know that, for example, in democracy is about election. That any Nigerian, so long as he is qualified based on the provision of the Constitution, can aspire to be anything in this country.
All right, so we might come back a little bit to that to touch on it if we have more time.
Yeah.
But to segue into insecurity now, which is one of your mandates, is to restore security. Now we hear a lot about what people would do, what aspirants and candidates would do. Now the how. How would you achieve security in the nation, to a higher level than it currently is?
Well, first of all, the population of security personnel in Nigeria is grossly inadequate. I always give example of Ethiopia as a country. They have less than 50 million, about 50 million population. They have more than 1 million police officers, men and women. But in Nigeria today, we have more than 250 million population, but our police are not up to 500,000. How can they police all these people? In addition to that, when you look at the allocation of this police, most of these politicians and businessmen and bureaucrats are having police in their houses. So more than 100,000 are allocated to other people. So first of all, you need to recruit a number of police that is required to police Nigeria adequately. Look at their welfare. Give them enough welfare package that they can be comfortable to go and work. There will be no corruption. Then make sure that even after they leave service, either by retirement or in the course of duty, they lost their life, they are guaranteed certain amount of money that will enable their family continue with their life. So once you have this kind of, and then you have to also purchase adequate equipments. If the bandits are using, for example, AK-47, we get them AK-95. A Spiro, more Spiro, government has resources to acquire more Spiro equipments than the bandits. If the bandits can acquire AK-47, then the government should be able to acquire more Spiro, more higher range weapons that can take these bandits off within short time. So this is all we need. Employ more security personnel, give them adequate welfare package and training, give them enough equipment and long-range equipment that they can be protected, and give them also protective dresses that they will have confidence in facing the challenges that they are going to face. So I think this is what we need to do as far as security is concerned.
That's very fair.
Yeah.
Somehow your three agenda seems to be intertwined.
Yes.
So now moving on from, we have about what's it called? Education. Education.
Poverty and
Yes.
ignorance as a major challenges that even cause insecurity.
Yeah. So now the
Yes.
aspect now is the poverty aspect now.
Yeah.
How do you want to do that, especially considering the economy?
Yeah.
So it's a double question: alleviating poverty and also doing it in a way that the economy favors people to also leave poverty themselves.
You see, I read economics up to master's level, and as I told you earlier, I worked in Ministry of Finance, Budget and Economic Planning. As a planning officer, I rose to the Director of Budget position, and I moved to National Director of Employment, where job creation activities, I rose to the Chief Research Officer. And I also work in Central Bank of Nigeria. So I've seen the country a lot. And I know that there are so many ways they can do to generate jobs. Like I said, right from education. If you give somebody entrepreneurship skills, and by the time he graduates, he already has his skills and you want to establish a business, he has a proposal, a feasibility study that is robust enough that can be financed. And these development banks, Bank of Agriculture and Bank of Commerce and Industry, any other one that is established by law, will give them soft loans that they can establish. Because today, go to commercial bank and say you want to loan. They will give you at 25, 28% interest. There's no business that you can do and get more 30% profit that you will take 28 and give them and keep 2%. Launch must be a single digit for development activities. 4%, 5%, like in Western world. So this is the kind of thing that you have to do to create jobs. And if from school, students know that, first of all, once you finish secondary school, you don't have to go, your father doesn't have to be rich. You just go with your documents to Student Loans Board. You take loans that you pay in 25, 30 years, and then by the time you graduated, you also take another loan. This is what is done in America and UK and Germany and others. And you see people, they live on credit. And the economy cannot move without support. So government has to give this kind of support, social welfare. That is the essence of APC. This progressive you are seeing, all progressive Congress, is about welfareism. The objective is to target the human being, human development, human life. You understand? So the infrastructure will come later.
Yes. That's fair. Now let's move a little bit to party politics now. President Muhammadu Buhari had a meeting recently with the governors where he said he needs their help in selecting his successor. Yeah. And a lot of people have suspected that a consensus is coming. Now, what's your opinion on that, especially when some people push back and say that it is not democratic, and we have some candidates who seem to be throwing tantrums already in anticipation of that. What is your stand on the matter?
That's why I say ignorance is part of the problem of this society. And that's why I put it as part of my agenda to resolve the problem of ignorance. Democracy is about election, it's about rule of law. And we have constitution, we have electoral act in Nigeria today, governing election processes and other things. The electoral act provided for consensus. When you want to arrive at a candidate, you either bring candidates through consensus or direct election or indirect election. So when Mr. President said he's going to bring his own candidate, which means he's going to generate consensus activity, discuss and interact with people. That is why he first met with the governors. Governors are the number one stakeholders in democracy in Nigeria today. Mr. President is the leader of the party, of APC. And governors are leaders of the party at state level. They know what their people are saying about every candidate. And every person that is in politics in any party wants his party to be in power. Nobody will just say, I am in politics, just to go and start harassing other people or doing any other thing other than the objective of acquiring power. Mr. President will not sit down. He has his programs and activities that he has implemented. And I think that in long run, that means short term, long term, that gestation period will be in the next 10 years, 5 years. And he needs somebody who he can trust to continue with this program so that, objective of establishing those programs will be achieved. And so he is going to lead the party as a leader of the party to through negotiations, interactions. And in the end, the party will come up with a consensus candidate. He will not just come and sit down and say, this is my candidate. And then everybody must follow. It's not a military regime. It is democracy. And the Constitution, the Electoral Act that is driven from out of the constitutional provision allows for parties to interact and have consensus. And I'm sure every member of society who is who has his loyalty is unquestionable to the party, will not reject the issue of consensus. We all know that God gives power. So it is through consensus that God will bring this power, or through election, direct or indirect. So I support the issue of Mr. President coming up to say that this is his candidate, and that is going to be the candidate of the nation. This is going to be the candidate of the party, as far as I'm concerned.
All right. So now, still on party matters, we've seen that the major opposition to the APC have fielded a candidate, a northern candidate. Now, obviously, based on your pedigree, you were already high up in the race. But now people now say, there's a sentiment that because the PDP has fielded a northern candidate, the APC has no choice but to field someone who especially has more or as much core northern values as the PDP candidates. Yeah. What do you make of this? Do you think it is impossible for someone from the south in the APC to defeat the candidate of the PDP?
Well, you see, election is about population. It's about number of voters that will vote for a candidate. And if you look at the statistics of election in Nigeria today, from 1999, when President Obasanjo was elected, to Yar'Adua's election, to President Jonathan's election, to President Muhammadu Buhari's election, you can see the statistics. It's very clear where the voters are coming from. And 40% or 39% of the votes of Mr. President came from Northwest. And even the people who won and the people who lost, you find the statistics of the election results the majority of the vote. That is what the PDP did, and that's what they considered to give Atiku's ticket. So it is like you say, you are right to say that today, if APC want to win, they have to get somebody from the north who will square up with Atiku and beat Atiku at the polls. Because I think if we take somebody from the south, it's not about, you can take somebody from the south. Of course, for example, today, the Labour Party has already chosen Peter Obi to be their candidate. And I'm sure SDP will choose their own candidate. ABGA will have chosen their own candidate from the south. So it's about election, about population, about people, and about your manifesto. So, but when, as I said, people are properly educated, this ignorance is removed from their psyche through proper education, interaction, understanding. When we say Nigerian citizen, people will not look at where he comes from. But before we reach there, we still have to start somewhere. Therefore, I believe that APC has to pick a northern candidate if they want to win presidency. Otherwise, PDP will have an edge over us.
All right. So just one more question on party politics before I add one final question on policy. What's your response to recent comments by one of the APC national leaders, Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu, saying that he basically was one of the reasons, or the main reason, that President Buhari won his election, and that now it is his turn?
I think it's over a statement, and I didn't expect it to come from a leader like him. He was governor in Lagos. I was governor in Zamfara. The national chairman of the party today was governor in Nasarawa. Bukola Saraki was governor in Kwara. There are so many people who are controlling their states. And look at the political, the result of Mr. President. Was he the one that came to the Northwest and said, vote for Buhari? Or was he the one that goes to the Northeast and said, vote for Buhari? Or he went to South and campaigned for Buhari and made him president? Look at this result of election in Lagos. APC won PDP by just about 100,000 votes. So I think it's an overstatement, and maybe he is also frustrated because he doesn't believe in consensus. He had that Mr. President said, we are going to look at consensus. If he's a very loyal party member, as a leader, we call him, he should have just accepted the will of God. And he said that God alone gives power. He said it himself. But when he said, me and God, who are you to say you and God? As Muslims, as Christians, we cannot say me, I, and God. It's God always. God directs everything. God controls everything. So as far as concerned, it is only God that gives power. And it is only God that gave President Muhammad Buhari power. We all supported him, and we all worked for it. But God decided that he was the one, and he became president. It was not Asiwaju.
All right. So now a final question on your policy. What's your plan for power supply? Nigerians really just want, I think Nigerians would be very comfortable if a president spent a whole term and provided only power. So what is your plan in terms of that?
Not only power supply, also all economic infrastructure. All you need to do is to open the market. As an economist, I believe in open market system. Let demand and supply. Let's get very highly qualitative companies that will bid and then allow due process. They bring companies that will provide power. Like I said, when you already empower the population, they are working very hard. They'll be able to, you see, what determines supply of services is ability to pay. And that ability to pay is generated by government. Government has to support the population to be engaged in productive services, activities, so that they can be able to pay for the services that are going to be provided. If you cannot provide power, government cannot invest and bring power. I believe that government should get out of things that private sector is supposed to do. So we are going to ensure that the private sector is well placed to provide electricity, to provide railways, to provide airways, aeroplanes. And government will not get involved. Maybe we'll just provide enabling environment through the laws that we are going to establish that will make them to operate, perfectly. The government is just to provide the enabling environment.
All right, now, just to end it up, to round off,
Yeah.
there's a question that we've been, getting specifically for APC presidential aspirants, which is that they, like yourself, you have your ideas and your plans. What is really the communication between you and the current administration, so that even before you take over as president, some of the things you already have in mind, are they being communicated to the government so that they can also be fixing these issues even before you take over?
Well, you see, I often meet Mr. President either in party meetings or private interaction. And all Nigerians know that before he was elected, he came up with 3-point agenda, which is: one, he's going to fight insecurity, he's going to fight corruption, and he's going to work very hard on the economy. And on insecurity, at that time, Boko Haram had already captured most part of Borno and Yobe State, and has even come to Abuja to bomb UN headquarters. And today, and that time too, anybody who wants to go to mosque or church will have to be screened with equipment to ensure that he doesn't carry dangerous weapon or bomb, whatever it is. Today, that is history. President has done his best. Boko Haram is gone, and just traces of it in the bush, and the army are doing very hard. Just this morning, I saw that about 4,000 terrorists have decided to come and say they are no longer into that system. And corruption, he has done his best. You can see what is happening today. He's not fighting only corruption that took place before him. Even during his office, his tenure, he doesn't play with corruption, the issue of corruption. And on economy, when before he was elected, the crude oil prices got up to $140 per barrel. He did his best when the price came down to as low as 30. So I'm sure that every candidate, every aspirant in APC knows about this objective of Mr. President and must know what has been done, what has been achieved, and what needs to be done to continue where he stops, and also add his own understanding, like I said, on the issue.
All right.
Yes.
Thank you. Senator Sani, thank you very much.
Thank you very much. You're welcome.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much.
All right.